All right. Here we are again. It is From the Margins with James Afant. I am David Washington, your co host. This is the James Washington Network, and this is James Afant. Jimmy, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am good. I am fed. I did eat, so no eating while we're doing the interview. Lesson learned, and I am ready to go. Good to see you, Jimmy.
Good to see you. So, before we go into anything, I want to send a little message to our governor, Mr. DeSantis. The cover of the Sentinel today was DeSantis considering to remove Nicole and Kelly because of their vote. Let me clarify to you that is not what the Constitution says. It's a requirement of not doing your job. Doing your job is voting. Doing your job is even voting against what you think they should be voting for. So that would not give you the margin. And even though you own the Supreme Court of the state of Florida, I would not put it past that they would revoke you and reinstate them. So don't do it. Having said that, we could go into the subject of this week, which is price surge or surges of price, which we have not seen yet because as of yesterday, our president decided to impose again tariffs, has threatened India with a 50% tariff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to say something to people who like rice. Half of the rice eaten in this country comes from India and Vietnam. So you might have a little bit of a problem if you opt to do that. Uh, and the thing is interesting. This is how ill conceived this is. They use the excuse of saying, hey, we're going to do two things: end the trade deficit and bring factories back. Okay, let's get the first one. It's interesting to say reduce the deficit because there was a 50% imposed on Brazil, not because there's a trade deficit, because there's not. If anything, they buy more from us than we buy from them. So it's a reverse deficit. But because they judged and took to trial the ex-president Bassado, and that is a really a tariff of trying to influence politics. That's a scary thing, which is also the one that they're trying to do with India, because India is buying oil from Russia, and we're going to impose this on you so you don't buy oil from Russia, so Russia quits the war with Ukraine. Trump, didn't you promise us that even before you took the oath of office, you would have ended the war Ukraine? That was your promise. Can't blame the Democrats on that one. You have failed us on the war of Ukraine. You have done a horrible job. It's still going on and it's still going strong. That one's completely on you. But going back to the tariffs, the second thing is to bring back factories. I'm going to use an example of how we are working in this country.
Okay.
Nabisco is an American company. I'm not going to go for a foreign company. I'm not going to go one that's Democrat, Republican. As a matter of fact, Nabisco colors are red and white, so I would say they're more Republican than Democrat. In 1982, opted to move its factories from the United States to Canada
Okay.
because they were going to save something like or make more about $12 million more a year with a factory in Canada with the change of the Canadian dollar to US dollar and the cost of production and everything. And this way, and this is where you have to listen to this part of it, they would produce a cheaper cookie at a price they could sell competitive worldwide.
Sure.
We think of the United States. Oh, the United States. We are one of the market, but we're not the whole market. In 2015, Nabisco sat down and decided that it was time to consider Mexico. And when the new NAFTA was signed with President Trump in 17,
Right.
They opted to move the factory from Canada to Mexico because they were going to save some money, and they would be able to produce the cookies at a reasonable price, so they could sell them at a reasonable price worldwide. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because Oreo is something that you all understand. Oreo is something that you open in your mouth. Oreo is something that is not a foreign concept. And for those of you who I burst your bubble, who thought that Oreos were made in the United States, they haven't been made in the United States since the 80s.
And they taste like it.
And they were taken out was to make it at a price that they could sell worldwide at a reasonable price, because they could no longer do it in the 80s in the United States.
Yeah.
Not in 2025 or 2000. They took it away from Canada for the same problem and sent it to Mexico.
Okay.
Now, there's some rumors that there's a competition in the Philippines who's trying to offer them something that they would even be cheaper. The only problem right now is that with NAFTA, the cost of transportation is relatively easy. And this is something that you have to understand. From Mexico to Los Angeles, we can take it in a matter of hours by truck and transport it to the West world. And from out of Mexico, we can transport it to Europe and the rest of the world. So Mexico has an ideal place for distribution.
Okay.
We think, well, if we put a big tariffs on Mexico, they'll bring back the Oreos to the United States. No, they won't. They will go probably to Philippines, which is only right now currently paying 15%. So they will save 10% of the tariffs that is imposed on Mexico. And let's get this clear so we understand.
Okay.
The only one that's going to pay more for the Oreos is us. If they send it to Japan, there's no tariffs. If they send it to Europe, there's no tariff. If they send it to South and Central America, there is no tariffs.
Right.
And they can send it to Canada, but Canada has basically boycotted Oreos because it took the factory out of there. It's a matter of local politics. But so when we think of tariffs helping us bring in this, let me explain to you. It's only products that enter to the United States. So if China sells something to Japan, there might be a tariff, but that's between them two. If China sends something to India, there might be a tariff, but that's between them two.
Right.
But the only tariffs are the ones that we are imposing for people to bring in their products here. And that, at the end, we pay. Not China,
That's
not
right.
India, not Mexico, not Canada.
Right. Jimmy, I know. So this whole conversation about tariffs, there's nuance to it, and I want to bring Mexico back into the conversation. I know that the argument that the Trump administration has had in regards to tariffs on Mexico is to, one, let Mexico understand that America knows that China is sending materials to Mexico to assemble and then send to the United States to avoid the tariffs, where China would, take the material, whatever product, put it together, assemble it there, and ship it directly to America, but then get hit with a tariff. Well, if they found a get around, or whatever you want to call it, workaround, and send the materials for a product, have Mexico put it together, and then ship it to the United States, and they were avoiding the tariffs there. So part of the nuanced conversation for the Trump administration is to address that. Also, there's a lot of Mexican nationals who've come here to America, and they send remittances to Mexico. They send money to Mexico that's not highly taxed, and that money goes to help out their families and whatever in Mexico. And so that's a lot of money leaving the United States and helping Mexico. So part of the argument that I do understand is that these tariffs are addressing those particular issues. And then finally, I know my coffee is going to get that much more expensive because it's probably from Brazil. And so, yes, you're right. That tariff is in relation to Brazil's treatment of the former president Bonacero.
Uh, you see, the problem with that argument has,
Okay.
has 2 points. Or either the people in the White House are stupid, or they think we are. Let me put it this way: has are there companies who are trying to avoid tariffs? Yes, but right now China is 50% and Mexico is 25. It's a 5%. Okay, it's a 5% difference. So whoopee, you try to tell me they're sending all these products and everything else to Mexico to save 5%. That's where I say, or either they are stupid, I think we are. Remissions to Mexico. Wow. Let me tell you, as somebody who does this on a weekly basis, because I'm a stamp collector and I buy stamps in Europe and pay with the euro. And by the way, the US dollar is down
Yes.
significantly, and that's
Yes.
because of what Trump is doing. So what they're sending from the US to Mexico is less than what it was before because of that. Look, Russians send money to Russia, okay? Uh, People from here send money to the family in Africa. They send money to people in the Middle East. They send money to the people in India. We're going to bring it up. They send money to their family members in India. But let's stop the hypocrisy. Do you know which is the largest flow of money? We tend to think it's Mexico. Why don't we then stop the flow of money from the U.S. to Cuba, which is a communist and a terrorist country?
Right.
So if you're going to talk to me, people are sending money for their family members to survive in Mexico, and we want to avoid that flow of U.S. dollars going to Mexico. Well, stop it in Cuba. Oh, no.
I,
Look, it's the same. Is it the same amount of money? Maybe Mexico is more than Cuba, but it's the same principle. But Cuba, okay. Mexico, not okay. There is where I have a problem. Or we apply it to everybody equally, or to nobody. Look, all you have to do is go into the site of uh, Western Union, and you will see a list of countries that people send money to.
yeah.
They won't tell you how much, but I can guarantee you, if they have all these countries you can send money to, it's because they're making money. Okay,
I
so
think I think for the money, the remittances to Mexico is about what, $60 billion
yeah,
annually. I
you
could be
know,
wrong. I need to check my check my numbers, and as I always inform our audience, I do their
Mexico
own
is a
homework.
large country, but I would guarantee you, if you try to check into places like India, and if you try to even check into places like Africa, I mean, when you put all the countries, different countries together, you're going to find that it's similar. As a matter of fact, the last time I checked, it's in the billions also that we sent to Cuba. And Cuba is a communist country, it's a terrorist country, it's a country which we don't even have diplomatic relations. So $1 is too many. Okay, Mexico is a country that we have relationship with. We have a pact with. We do business with, and when you throw in the $60 billion, it's not all in remissions that are going to family members. Sometimes we are paying for goods that we're buying from them, and it's a legitimate business thing when you put it in the context of the 60 billion. We do business with Mexico. It's legal to do business with Mexico. It's not legal to do business with Cuba. But if you go to a Western Union company here, this is the hypocrisy of my government. You go into Western Union and say, oh, where do you want to send the money? Cuba. Okay, how much? Do you know that there's a joke in Cuba that you there if you want to buy something in Cuba, you can buy it with a Cuban peso, but you can't buy it with a US dollar.
Right.
The US dollar is the currency in Cuba. It's what supports the economy of Cuba. So if you want to talk about it, you know, country that we're having a relationship, diplomatic, we do business with, and one that we call a terrorist country, and it's a communist country, but we send dollars there too. But we don't have a problem with that. Okay, we don't. But we have a problem going to Mexico. That's hypocrisy. That is the fact that basically, let's stop pretending. I'm going to give the same answer I gave to Telemundo. There is a movement in this state to take out, uh, go to the different sheriff's office and say, I'll give you $50,000. You can sign it with ICE. I will pay you more than you're getting as a deputy sheriff. You can come with ICE. And some of the Republican sheriffs are pissed off because a lot of our sheriffs are leaving.
Correct.
But when asked, did ICE have a concern over, over the fact that that would leave for less people on the street to deal with the criminals? The answer was, once we deport all these people, there will be no crimes in the United States. Whoa! Be careful, they're going to deport all of the African Americans out of Chicago because they're they commit crimes too. But they can't do this thing that once we deport everybody back to Mexico, we won't have crime. It's
That's just
naive.
that's illogical.
But that's what the administration is telling us. So at this point, if you have not felt it in your pocket that things are more expensive, you're lying to yourself. If you're buying the lie, hey, sacrifice now, but at the end, this country will be stronger. How? Do you know what really a tariff is? It's nothing more than a border adjustment tax, depending
Okay.
which country, how much more. Now, here's where it's dangerous. This is the part that nobody talks about. When they say that Biden did not eliminate all the tariffs that Trump had imposed, that is true. But you know why? Because he would have had, if he went back to what Obama had, he would lose an income of over $320 billion a year because it's a
Really?
tax. Okay, it is
Right.
a tax. The tariff is okay. You're going to bring this in. It's worth $1,000 at 25%. You have to pay me a tax of 250. It's a
Right.
tax. You call it whatever you want, and
Yes.
that's why I could keep calling it a border adjustment tax because that's what it is, and it enters into the general funds. And a new president is going to say, "Whoa, wait a minute! If I reduce these tariffs, I'm going to reduce my income by $500 billion. That might not be a smart idea." That's why it's dangerous to impose them because once you take them off, you have cut down part of your income. Just say,
Jimmy, while you were speaking a little bit earlier, I did check Google to find out how much exactly the remittances were to Mexico. And in 2024, they were about $68 billion. So uh, that is 68 billion with a B. Just want to make sure I had that correct. And ever since I think 2013, 2014, there's been about a steady increase, about 13% each year of remittances to Mexico. And about 93, 94% of those remittances are coming from the United States, and more particularly, specifically, California and Texas. The flip side of tariffs, to talk more about tariffs as a tax, um, there is it also protects our economy. And Trump has said that these tariffs not only will raise revenue for the United States, but also protect industries, specific industries like the manufacturing industry, farmers, for instance. There were conversations about protecting soybean farmers, if I remember correctly. Also, just recently, with um, the CEO of Apple Out of respect to my Google fans, I'm not going to mention his name, but Apple recently stated that it will commit $600 billion to projects here in the United States and move back some of their manufacturing to the United States, where they just recently opened up shop for their iPhones, manufacturing iPhones in India. That's gonna hit Apple, and also, maybe this was a business move by Apple to say, hey, we're not going to mess around. We're going to bring the manufacturing of our iPhones here back to America. What's your thoughts on that?
I cannot believe how much lies come out of Trump's mouth in his administration. Let's start from the last one, Apple. Apple was, this is how stupid Donald Trump is. Yesterday, Don went to the White House, said, hey, we're going to commit $600 billion to invest in the United States. He didn't
Right.
say exactly what. He didn't even say he was going to manufacture, just for the record. He did show you a little thing that they use for iPhones, which at the end, then the president say, hey, by the way, that piece that you're going to need to manufacture here, we're increasing the tariffs because it comes from India to 50%. Holy shit. Now I cannot manufacture in the United States. Asshole. But this is where it becomes even more interesting. Soybeans. You want to bring up soybeans? Most of the soybeans produced in the United States are not sold in the United States. They're sold to China.
Right.
They're sold to other countries. Right now, China, because of the cost of them, is buying from Brazil.
That's correct. You're right. You're right,
Okay.
Jimmy.
So basically, if anything, because the United States imposed a tariff of 50% on things that we bring from China, China did the same to us. They say, okay, you want to fuck with me? I'll fuck with you. So basically, the soybeans that we have here and the corn that we have here, we cannot sell to out. So the farmers, this is how much of a liar he is. If anything, his tariffs, when China imposed theirs on us, has made it impossible for our farmers to sell their products. It's gone. It's disappeared. Okay. Now, bringing manufacture back, I'm going to ask a question. What manufacturer? We don't have any manufacturer in this country. We don't. I'm sorry. Oh, well, maybe 3 to 5 to 6% of, yes, it's manufacturing.
Right.
And it's at a very little lower label. Yes, we are a country since 1990 of services.
That's right.
Bill Gates, Bill Gates, who's one of the richest men in this country, has made, yes, software. And yes, he has put it on a disk. And yes, he has employees who do that. And yes, they go and sell worldwide. Oracle is a major company which is in the United States, and it will go to your company and produce a software for you to use in your thing. There's a lot of companies here who will go into a bank and set up the software for the bank, and so on and so on. What we've been selling since the 90s is this. We have not been using this. This, not this. So when we're saying, let's bring back manufacturing, at what cost? And for what? Do you want to break your backs again doing hard labor? Or do you want to use this? Look, uh, you've been sold a bag of shit. Hey, if we put this tariffs on this, they're going to come back. No, they're not. They didn't leave this country because of tariffs. They did not leave this country because of regulations. They did not leave this country because of cost of products. They left this country for a very simple reason. They go to Philippines. They produce medicines cheaper than producing them here. They go to Mexico. They produce Oreos cheaper than if they made them here. Okay? It is all about dollars and cents. So
Okay.
you could tell them, hey, we're going to tariff your thing all the way up into the world. And by the way, let's not forget one thing about Oreo. Oreo is food. and food does not pay tax. Okay, so we're going to go into say, hey, we are going to pay tariffs on everything. Now, let's get another one that people do not want to talk about. There, people in Detroit are upset. They are angry. And once your price of your car goes up 30 to 40%, blame the administration. For years, for years, the parts that are put in cars come from other places. Let's start
Right.
with the Model T in
Yeah.
Detroit. Okay, he did not produce the parts. He purchased the parts, and they assemble. That's why they call it the assembly line. Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge never have a factory where they produce the parts. They might have a factory that they produce some parts, but that's not their business. They have an assembly line, and they get parts from different countries, and they put them together. As a matter of fact, what made Firestone and Goodrich so rich was that they got contracts with GM, they got contracts with Ford to sell them their tires. But neither the GM nor the Ford ever produced a tire. To this day, they haven't. Okay, they would just get the tires from them. Japan, when they brought their cars over here, brought Toyo, and so did what you would call it, South Korea with their Kias and Hyundai's, and okay, so yes,
Right.
right now, the exact amount, and I have it here because I knew this would come up.
All
Okay,
right. Let's hear it.
for South Korea, is 17%.
Okay.
South Korea is a friend of ours. Do we have a trade deficit with them? Yeah. Do we buy more than they sell us? Yeah.
Yes. Samsung.
Yeah. Is that something bad? Well, maybe I shouldn't put a tariff on my doctor. I should put a tariff on my barber. I should put a tariff on my uh, convenience store, my gas station, because I buy from them. They don't buy shit from me. That is a deficit. But the trouble is, you have imposed a 17% added cost to every part that comes from South Korea,
That's expensive.
15% that from Japan, and so on. Mexico is 25%, and the parts. And just so you understand, because it's not that people are crazy or stupid. You are stupid if you think that the tariffs are going to help you. You are stupid if you think that this is going to change anything. But give you an example. You, under NAFTA, that was signed by Bill Clinton and by Donald J. Trump.
Okay.
Okay. In Mexico, many of the companies from Detroit decided to produce their parts, Canada and Mexico, because of NAFTA, but because of two things. Cost. If it comes from Canada, it goes over a bridge into Detroit. Literally. Literally, it goes over a bridge. It's less than 200 miles of transportation. Okay? So when you say, ooh, why would they do that? It's 200 miles. And instead of being to the south, it's to the north, but it's there. Mexico, the same thing. They produce the parts much cheaper than Canada, and they put them up the road. They come into the country, and we're good to go, and we put them on our car. South Korea happens to be a factor that a lot of people don't understand, is that it's our fault, the parts we buy, because we buy Kias, we buy Hyundais, and I could keep on going on the cars that we buy
Right.
in major quantities, and and they're made and produced in South Korea. So the parts come from South Korea. So when we try to say, stop buying foreign cars, and maybe this will change, but it's our fault by buying them. But the truth of the matter is that these tariffs are going to add the cost of your cars. They're going to add the cost of everything here.
Yeah.
Philippines, and just put it this way. I'm going to make this simple for my senior citizens. Senior citizens, 80% of the medication that you put in your body comes from Indonesia and from the Philippines and from Puerto Rico.
That's
Those
right.
three places. There's no any major medicine factories in the United States. So when people tell me that buying medicine from Canada and Mexico is risky because it's not the same like in the United States, that's a both bag of lies that they sold you. The factories are in the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and in Mexico. Okay, Philippines 15%, Mexico 25%, and Puerto Rico zero because it's part of the United States. So
Correct.
that's a good thing. But unfortunately, that is less than what is produced in Philippines and what is produced in Mexico. So there are in this country. So be prepared to pay 25% more for, unless, and this is where there's an argument that's being made and might be successful, is that they don't tariff medicines. If they don't
Right.
tariff medicines, there won't be an increase in price. But if they decide that they want to, get prepared. But that's medicines. Other products, and I'll give you one that my generation uses a lot: walkers,
Yeah.
canes, all those things that come from foreign countries. They're not considered medication. They might be an increase in the price. So, it's going to be an interesting way of seeing this. But we pay the tariffs. We pay the tariffs. I call them, and most economists call them, a border adjustment tax, which is basically at the border, we're adjusting the tax to make sure that you don't compete with our products. The problem is that if this would have done 50 years ago, it would have been effective. In 1975, it would have. 2025, we're 50 years late. Why? Who's going to bring back manufacturing to the United States? And by the way, if the numbers are true, even though they just fired the lady who published it, the total unemployment in this country is 4.2. It's not
Mhm.
like we have a major unemployment that is going to go running to work in a factory. So it's really sad, but the Trump administration has been lying to you, but I'm not sure if they're lying on purpose or if they really believe their lies. That's I've always been confused on that one. Sometimes I
Mhm.
really believe that they believe their lies, and when they say that China pays the tariffs, that's a lie, and that they know. When they
Right.
say that, and when he says to a Walmart, eat the tariffs cost, nobody can eat them because they're so high, and basically what you're going to pay 25% more for a product but not charge it to the consumer, how long are you going to be in business? Not too long. Especially when most businesses work with a margin of 25% profit. So if you take that away, what's happening to it?
Jimmy, is there a best case scenario for tariffs? And I want to start with NAFTA. And you did mention that there are some trade deficits that we do have with, certain countries, the EU, some European countries. Is there a best case scenario for using tariffs?
Yeah, but it's never been used that way. Look, I'll give you an example, and you and I know this, and we discuss this. China produces a car,
Mhm.
which people call the dream car, which
Build
is
your dream.
which is 20 times better than anything we produce in this
Oh,
country.
yes.
Okay, let's stop pretending
Hmm.
that it isn't. Uh, and the tariffs to bring in that car here is what has prevented it from ever being sold in the United States. And it protects our American car industry. And there is a logistic, and cars are not basic necessities. So basically, you could buy an American car, you could buy a Korean car, you could buy a Japanese car, you could buy a European car, but you can't buy a Chinese car. Why? Because the dream car would be less than half of what you're paying for a Japanese, Korean, American, or European car. That is the truth. So there, a tariff might be good. Let's say for some reason Uh, they want to bring in a product like we use a car, but there is something else. Uh, I could give you one that Europeans use on us, which makes a lot of sense. Europeans don't want guns in their hands, right?
Oh,
So,
good point.
so they forbid them, but at the same time, a gun would cost you 20 times more because they don't want guns in people's hands. So they put a tariff because that's their belief. Uh,
Right.
it's kind of interest. The same has been happening with gold and silver. That if you try to bring it in, there is a tariff to prevent it from, and it's so on. There is legitimate things, yes, but when you just say, and this is the thing, when you say, okay, I'm gonna, everything is gonna be tariffed. Really? Did you think about food? Did you think about medicine? Did you think about car parts? Look, now you're telling me that because you're pissed off with Brazil, I'm going to have to pay more for my coffee. Not because it's protecting the United States, it's because you don't like the way they treat the foreign person. That's their problem. That is their prerogative. They're an independent country. So, no, I don't agree with that. So, yeah, is there a good reason? Yes, there's always. Have we used them? Yes, in the past. That's why we don't have the dream car. If it wasn't for terrorists, we would have the dream car, and Chevrolet and everybody else would be filing bankruptcy.
That's
It's
true. That's true. I still love the Build Your Dream vehicles. They're beautiful cars and with incredible technology. Jimmy, one last thing in regards to the benefits of a tariff. It has been floated around by the administration that maybe perhaps we pull in enough tariff tax dollars that there will be no income tax for those making under $200,000. What's your thoughts on that?
that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. No, no, no. Wait a minute. I don't pay income taxes, but I'm paying you taxes for every product that I buy. Now, instead of paying 200, 2,000 or $3,000 on income tax, I'm paying $5,000 because if I buy a car and it costs me
Yeah.
now $5,000 more, what have I saved? That's the whole problem. The people who pay these taxes, the tariffs, is us. It's not the companies, people. Yeah, they pay to bring it in, but what do? They pass it to the consumers, us. So I don't pay income taxes, fine. But now I am paying through the nose to buy aluminum plates. I'm paying through the nose to buy reading glasses. I am paying through the nose to buy even simple things as coffee. I am paying through the nose. By the way, where does tea come from?
Where does what come from, Jimmy?
Tea.
Oh, tea comes from Asia, China, Thailand, India. Um, I
Okay,
believe
so
there's some,
if I want a cup, if I want a glass of iced tea, it's going to cost me more
right.
because we don't produce tea here. We don't produce coffee here. Okay,
That's
so
right.
say we want to bring, well, our terrain is not suitable for coffee or for tea. We know that. So what?
Right.
So you're going to tell me, oh well, by the way, we're going to bring in, you're not going to pay income taxes, but you're going to pay through the nose to buy your products. So now everything that you want is more expensive, but you're not paying it in an income taxes, and you don't have any deductions. And if you're poor, let's put it this way: this is a fuck the poor remedy. Now, and I'm explaining why I say fuck the poor. Poor people don't pay taxes. Can we at least agree on that one? So they don't pay income tax. But now, if they want to buy brakes for their car, so I'm gonna make it simple. They want to pay they pay 30% more for those brakes. And even if they install those brakes, that's 30% more. Okay, if they need to buy a battery for their car, it's going to cost them 30% more,
Yeah.
and I can keep on going. Okay, I've, as a matter of fact, if they want to buy underwear, it's going to cost them probably 30% more because we don't produce even underwear in this country. So so you didn't pay income taxes at all, but you never did before. But now you're paying more for your products with the philosophy and the stupidity, but you don't have to pay taxes. But I didn't before. The
Well,
rich haven't paid taxes for years. They have so many deductions, they haven't either. So, what is this myth that, well, we could eliminate income tax? Sure, you could, but to whom? To
right.
nobody. Because the middle class will be paying taxes. This is like they sold us this many years ago, and I'll give you Florida. Florida, they keep saying, well, we don't have income taxes here. Yeah, but you have sales taxes, you have property taxes, you have taxes to drive on the roads here. And by the way, if you really want to get around in Orlando, you pay tolls through the nose.
Yes,
And
you do.
tax.
Yes, you do.
That's a
You're
tax.
right, Jimmy.
Okay, so when people tell me we won't be paying taxes, what are you talking about? See, that's the problem that I have. Either the administration thinks that we are stupid, or they are. But when I pay the tax to buy my products at 15, 20, 30, 40% more, it's I'm paying taxes. That's the whole thing. Tariffs are taxes. Again, I'm going to use the word. And this is something that economists use. It's not invented by Jimmy Fallon. This is something that tax experts and economists use. As a matter of fact, the person who used to use this a lot is the former speaker, Ryan Paul. People forget.
Okay.
He believed in a border adjustment tax. This is what it is. Basically, it's the adjustment. Well, if it's from Philippines, it's 50%. If it's from Mexico, it's 25. If it's from China, it's 35. That's the adjustment. So what you do? If you bring it to the border, we're going to adjust it to somebody's feather up his ass in Washington, and we're going to make it go through. So when you tell me that, oh, I'm paying more for a product because there's a tax on that product, and I'm paying that tax, people, yeah. So if you're paying $3, $4, or $5,000 of taxes a year, but now for the products that you need, you are paying more. It's kind of interesting. It's going to be extremely interesting. As a matter of fact, the other day I had to paint my house, and I noticed that the paint that I use is not produced in this country either. So it's I'm not sure when people say increase manufacturing, we lost that battle 50 years ago.
Sure.
It's not coming back. Look, and I keep using the Oreo, something that we all know, something that we all love. The reason it's in Mexico is because it can be produced at a cost that is effective to be sold worldwide. Not only in the United States, because we're so stupid that we think US, US. No, 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 no. The manufacturers have to say, I can produce this cookie so I can sell it in Philippines, so I can sell it in the United States, so I can sell it in Mexico, all South America. I can sell it in Africa. I can sell it in Europe. Oreos is a cookie that's worldwide. And by the way, so is Fig Newtons is being produced in Mexico. And I can keep on going. People, this is not about bringing back manufacturing here. We cannot. We cannot compete with Mexico, Canada, Philippines, and everybody. The cost of production is much, much lower. We don't want to say it, but it's a globalization. It's always been globalization. I remember I collect stamps. There's a letter from a ship captain that went to Puerto Rico in 1842. He wrote back to his wife, and it's in my collection, and basically says, I love it here in Puerto Rico. I sold all my apples in 2 hours. They gave me a fair price for them, and somebody offered to buy our dog, so go get a new one because I sold it. Uh, and when people tell me what, yes, that is what a true free market. He took his product, he sold it at a price that he felt was good. And so We want to think that we could tell the world, hey, stop doing what you're doing, do it our way. It's not going to happen. That's why Canada's going to tell us to go fuck ourselves. That's why Mexico's going to tell us to go fuck ourselves. That's why Brazil's going to tell us to go fuck ourselves. That's why India told, and I can keep on going about all the countries to tell go fuck ourselves. And what Tom did yesterday is take the the administration for a fool. He was planning to invest that money here. Okay, it's not because of anything else. And would he like to bring certain parts of the iPhone to be produced in this country? Yes, but he knows that cost why there's no way he could do it.
Right, right.
These things are cheaper made in other countries. I'm sorry.
Maybe they'll take a less of a profit. Jimmy,
Why?
w-
Why would he think this of a profit? Are we
no, I.
communists now? No, no, wait a minute. Are we communists that we want people
Oh no.
to do price controls? Do we want people to tell them how much they could sell something for? Because that's communism. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
serious.
no, I agree with you. First of all, it's my Google bias, and I'm not a big Apple fan, so it's my Google bias. But second, to answer that question in a more serious tone, I mean, Apple has done incredibly well. We're talking about, I think, whether the first or second trillion-dollar company that has been valued at $1 trillion, and the CEO of Apple does very well, and they're able to make investments, and sell a product. Which again, my bias for Google is not as is inferior to Google. However, it is popular. It is used by many people. It's in their ecosystem, in their walled garden. However, when and I believe in the capitalist system. I am a capitalist. Yes. However, to make America stronger, Jimmy, as Apple decided to bring $600 billion, or is it 600 million? I'm sorry, $600 million back to America, and have some of their production done here in America. Isn't it their patriotic duty to, you know, not seek out as much profit, at least on the sales of iPhones at such a high cost? I'm just throwing that out.
And I'll throw it back. That's communism. I'm sorry. This is a
Okay.
liberal who believes in free market.
Yes.
If this is my price, if you don't like it, that's fine. I respect that. But price control, with this excuse that this is patriotic. And can I ask you one question? Who does it benefit by forcing them to sell cheaper? Who does it benefit? Us? Not really.
Sure.
Not really, because basically we've always had the option. If we don't want iPhone, we could go with Google,
Right.
who created a phone which I don't like, but I know that some people do. And then you have the phone Samsung or the Android, so you have options. It's not
There's
like you
options.
don't.
Yes.
Okay, that's a free
And
market.
I'm
But
just
to
saying,
tell
let
me,
the
well,
market.
iPhone, you should make less, but I'm not going to do the same to Google, and I'm not going to do the same to the Androids. There, I have a problem
I'm just saying, let
because
the market decide. I'm not saying, the government puts price controls on iPhones. I'm just saying, if they're going to stay competitive, and if it means taking a hit on the cost of their iPhones, the price that of their iPhones, that people are deciding, no, I'd rather get an Android or a Samsung or whatever, Pixel or Samsung or whatever, Galaxy, that the market will decide, and therefore the market will decide that, okay, Apple's not going to get as huge profits as they did this past quarter, but they're still going to get profits. That's all I'm saying. That the market will decide.
with all due respect, the market has decided for years. I'm
Mhm.
not sure what when we say the market will decide. Uh, Smartphones have been with us for over 20 years now, and there are people who are loyal to Androids. There are people who are loyal to iPhones, and Pixel is something new, so I'm not sure how much is picking up in the
It's
market. But I know there are some people who like it. I've never had one, so I cannot say that it's good or bad. You have one, so that's fine. What I'm trying to say is the thing is, even with the smartphones, there are lies. and let me get it.
Okay.
Come to Verizon, and we will give you a free iPhone 16 with AI. Bullshit. They can charge it in your bill. We all
Yeah.
know that. You have to sign a 2-year contract, and you got to pay for it. Same thing when they offer you a Pixel, and the same thing when they offer you an Android. Bullshit. Okay, so that's one. Most people. I go into Amazon and buy unlocked phones for $3, $5, and $600. For those of you who don't know that, and take them to T-Mobile, who's my provider, and they have to put the chip in. Okay,
Yeah.
to provide that service. So the free market is there. Uh, what I have a problem is saying, well, Apple, you should. If you bring all three in there, I might swallow it. But just one and not the other two, I have a problem. And second, saying to somebody, well, you should make less money. No, because the next thing they're going to tell me is that my salary is too high and that I should take less money to do my job. And to that, I would say, fuck you.
Of
So,
course.
okay, the government needs to stay out of my pocket and needs to stay out of my life. So, if I want to buy an iPhone for $1,000 and I feel that's a reasonable price, that is free market. That is pure capitalism. Okay. So, when people tell me, well, they should try to come back here and look, who are they going to hire? 300 or 400 people? Whoopee. Okay.
Right.
Whoopee. That's going to make such a big impact in our economy. That's why I keep saying, do they think we're stupid or are they stupid? They're selling us a bag of lies. The administration is selling us a bag of lies. The 600 billion that he promised, that Tom promised, is not going to make that much of an impact. Maybe 1,000 people are hired in a country with millions. Okay. Oh, we have an unemployment. No, we don't. 4.2 is not unemployment. The lady that just got fired gave him numbers that many presidents in the past would want to die for. 4.2 unemployment. Okay. The problem that we have with the numbers, he created. Okay. But he's not smart enough to realize he did.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you how this works. Employers say, we're going to build this condominiums in Orlando, Florida, and we're going to hire 180 people to do the construction. Okay, that's the projection.
Right.
At the end, he realizes that he did not need 180. He was able to do with 120, so those are 60 jobs that never existed. Now,
Okay.
here's the other thing that we don't want to say. These jobs are not for Americans only. If a person comes in and says, hey, I could do the drywall and does the drywall and might not even have a green card, that is not surprising in construction in this country. So the other thing is when you say create jobs, are these jobs all for Americans? No, they're not. The other thing is that I'm going to hire so many people, but people don't take the jobs. If you go onto YouTube right now, you will find if you go and search that they will throw in their jobs for the state of Florida, for ICE, for we're hired, we're hired, we're hired. Why? Because nobody is applying for those jobs. So when
Mhm.
they say I'm creating a job, the adjustment, second biggest adjustment, is if they are successful hiring. If they're not, then you have to adjust the numbers. And the third thing is where are the sectors? You know where the largest sectors of hiring are right now?
I would say healthcare, hospitality, and lodging professions.
Do you know that if you look in the numbers for the last 5 years, 5 years, and go into the sector that's called manufacturing, jobs are very little to none.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's nobody building factories. And not that they're not building factories. People, you want to know about something? Right now, there's a farm in Iowa with 400 acres, soybean, and and corn, which is handled by a machine, which is armed with a GPS, and with artificial intelligence that tells them when and how, it brings in the corn, takes it, uh, takes off it from the cob, takes it, puts it in a silo, and measures how much. When somebody comes to buy, that same truck goes, puts the tube, and puts it in the truck, and sends it to where it needs to go. The only that farm of 400 acres is hiring three people, and all three people are behind the computer.
Mm.
This is our real world. You go into a factory today, and 90% of the work is done by robots.
That's
So when we
correct.
say we're going to bring back jobs in the United States, what the fuck are you talking about, Donald Trump? 90% of the jobs in this country are done by robots. So what jobs are you bringing that us humans are going to be able to do? And with the advent of artificial intelligence, it's going to even get worse. Because
Mm-hmm.
right now, even Google, because you're a Google person, they will tell you that they've been firing people because a lot of the things are answered by artificial intelligence. I'm having to go for in a hotel, and I wrote to ask some questions, and the thing says, "I am here by artificial intelligence to provide you A, B, C, D, E, F, G." That's something in the spectrum that I've been though. I will have a human contact you.
Yes, yes. I have an AI chatbot that is on the Jane Washington website, and you click on the button of of my face or my body in the right hand corner there. You click on it, and there I am, and you type in or you speak into your phone your question, and it will talk to you and answer you based on your question that's related to Jane Washington. So yes, yes, it's artificial intelligence is changing the way that we're doing. It has changed the way we're doing business.
So,
I
so
like
when
to
they
call it
keep lying to us, we're going to bring back jobs. What jobs?
the people who are going to.
90% of everything that is manufactured worldwide.
Mhm.
You go into the plant of Chrysler, GM, and
Robotic
Ford, and you're going to find that most of those things are being built by a robot. You go
automation.
into Chattanooga, Tennessee, where they do the Volkswagens, you're going to
Yep.
find that
Automation.
most of the things are built by robots. So when you say bring back jobs, what the fuck are you talking about, Donald Trump?
It-
Jobs here in this country are done by robots. They're not done by humans. And the more that we keep going, the more that they're creating robots that are replacing humans. And I'm worried because basically we're lying to the people. Well, this is going to bring back manufactured jobs. No, they're not. If you go to the factory of Oreos in Mexico, more than
automation.
half of it is done by you put they open the bags, they put the mix, the computer tells them how to mix it, it mixes and it throws it everything out. The only thing that the people are doing is making sure that the labels are correct and going to the right place, and the drivers drive it to the place. And the way that Musk is going in the future, maybe in the next 5 years, the distribution truck drivers are going to be eliminated. So
Mhm.
stop lying to the American public. Manufacturing by humans is disappeared.
Right.
Can we agree on that one? Manufacturing by humans has disappeared. So what are you bringing back? I'm not sure, but I do know one thing you're doing. You're selling exceptions to the tariffs for $4 million.
Mm.
Okay, so be careful of this. This is not to protect the United States. This is not to bring back the industry to the United States. This is about being a bully and living in the wrong century. If you think that you're going to bring back jobs, what fucking jobs?
Mm.
Everything in the factories are done by robots.
Jimmy,
That's what one few things Republicans and Democrats can agree upon.
and speaking about the opposition, the Democrats, when the Democrats eventually make it back into the White House, and it'll happen.
Yeah, you might be
Will
the
it?
next president.
What's that?
You might be the next president.
Oh, Lord, Lord forbid.
Hey,
I think I'll make a good president. You can be my vice president, Jimmy.
okay, good.
There we go. Um, when the Democrats,
And we will have colorful language in the White House.
oh hell yeah, we will. Trump has opened that door. And just tell it like it is.
Can I ask, this just not to change just for a few minutes? What the thing that they did with Biden when he said this is a big fucking deal?
I
He was really
remember.
whispered it to Obama.
Right.
He did not say it in public. It was whispered, but it got got picked up.
On the
And
hot mic. But that's what we needed at the time. That type of enthusiasm. Because when I heard it, when he said it, I mean, we're talking about the Obama presidency passing some major, major life changing legislation. We needed to hear that. The Democrats and their ally supporters and so forth and so on needed that to know, yes, this is a big fucking deal. And it's unfortunately the Democrats miss their opportunity just get into their feelings about major legislation.
Yeah, that's what makes this podcast so interesting. I use language. I,
Colorful language.
I call it as it is, and I have no problem saying, "What the fuck are you talking about?" There
Right.
is no manufacturing industry in the world. It's robots. What are you bringing back? Who's going to be hired?
Jimmy, do you think the Democrats will continue these tariffs if and when they enter the White House again?
Well, they have two problems. One, what are they going to replace that income with? I'm going to be honest. And two, how can they survive it? I think what they're going to do is kind of different. They'll probably go down and say, look, Canada, this 25% is abusive. We're going to go down to 10. Hey, China, let's work this out to 20% and on these other problems. I'm going to maintain the high things because we cannot afford to have the dream car here, and discuss it. India, we're gonna drop it from 35 to maybe 10 or 15, and so on. With look, we have on Taiwan. Taiwan has been a good ally. 20%. We could go down to 10. We have Indonesia, where 19, Philippines 19, Europe 15, Japan 15, UK 10. These are our friends.
Would they still do it at the risk of damaging the robust economy if that's the case?
Uh, they might not. And that's
Mhm.
why I said a few minutes ago, the risk of this is that we're going to have this come in. Now, the thing here is that I would have done it a little bit different. Really.
Mhm.
You want to put tariffs? I'll give you 12 examples of tariffs that you can impose. BMWs go up to 50% higher, just on the car.
Mhm.
Mercedes Benz, just go up to 50% just on the car. Lexus, just go up to 50% on the car. Uh, Volvo, go 50% on the car. Rolex, 50% on it. Why would I go there? Well, first of all, I mentioned luxury things, which you do not need. Look, a Mercedes will take you from point A to point B the same as a Chevrolet Equinox. You and I use well, no, you don't use American cars. Sorry, I will give a boo boo. I buy Americans, and I have for a long time. Okay, so even though I found out that after I bought a Buick that the Buick's made in South Korea, I did not know that until after I purchased it. Oh yes,
Uh-oh.
Buick's made in South
I
Korea.
know. Yes. Yes. Yes, they
But
are.
it's an American car, supposedly, but it's made in South Korea. Okay, uh, the thing that I always found interesting is that yes, you could go and to my liberal friends, you are now taxing the rich. You
Yeah.
literally are taxing the rich.
Right.
Who buys a Mercedes? The poor don't, and the real middle class doesn't. But the rich, okay, they have to pay more for their Mercedes. Put a 50% tariff on all gold and silver coming into this country. Put a 50% tariff of all art that is coming to this country. We don't eat art. So there's things you can increase, and maybe the majority of people say, oh, well, if you have to pay 50% more for Rolex, fuck it, I don't care. Oh, you have to pay 50% more on a Movado? Fuck it, I don't care. Hey, you have to pay 50% more on an Invicta? I don't care. That doesn't affect my pocket. But when you say, hey, by the way, the the Pampers that you might be paying that are made in Mexico, you have to pay 25% more on Pampers that I need. So what I would call is an adjustment on which things you paid. You pay the taxes out and see if we could balance it off, and be selective. Really, do you know how much Canada's pissed off at us right now?
Oh, I believe they are quite pissed off at us.
And is it worth it? Can I ask you a question? Do you really think it's worth it? Because I don't. I really don't. You know,
Not really, no.
oh, we buy from them aluminum. Hey, they're a country rich in aluminum. Fuck it. Let them make their money. I don't have a problem. Okay. And we were buying it for him because basically we closed down all our factories here.
Yeah.
Why? Because it was cheaper to buy it from Canada. It was cheaper to buy it from Mexico. So we closed our. Yeah, we might, because we need to. I would sit down if I was in that position. I would sit down. Okay, what can we tariff to the moon and other things? In these days of industries, you want to. I'll give you an example. China. I'm going to take
Mhm.
China. China. Uh, all your intelligent, artificial intelligence software that come into this country is going to pay a $200, 200% tariff. What? Well, okay, because we have our own here. We're going to protect our own here. If you want
Yes.
the Chinese, you have to pay more for it. Otherwise, use the one that's coming out of Google and other companies. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So there are ways to do this, but the thing of just look, this is like walking into a house and there's a broken vase on the floor, and you have four kids. You're not sure which one did it, but you decide to punish all four of them. That's kind of stupid. And it's unfair. It's not American,
Right.
you know. Or in the good old days when I grew up, you walk in and whoop the ass of all four of them. That was oh, in the good old days, whoopings were allowed. You're laughing because you got yours. So
I got mine. Oh, yes, I did.
so did I. So what I'm trying to say, when people tell me, "Oh, what?" No. What we're doing is we're saying everything is going to get. You know, and some of the things that we get from these countries, we really need to survive. But you know, we're pissed off with the countries, and that's not
True.
the way to tax. Okay, so let's get the fuck up of the week
Here we
from the
go.
Republicans. I'm going to start with the Republicans because this is one thing that they have decided to do, and they decided to do it on their own. And they decided to shoot themselves on the foot with this. They have decided to tell the world that they're going to be making great deals with companies and that they're going to do everything. I don't know if you listened to Tom yesterday.
Mm.
He said that they were going to do investments in the United States in $6 billion. Look, Apple can invest in creating software for the iPhone, for creating software for its products, for creating new technology for its Apple's computers, and so on. And not only that is done in the United States, it's not done in foreign countries. So they're going to bring in more brilliant minds here and develop all this software. And part of it, if I heard him right, is in artificial intelligence
They
produced
don't
here.
make investments. Yeah.
Okay, that's going to create some jobs. That's fine. If I pick it up correctly, that was already in the plans. What he now did is yesterday announce what
Mhm.
was already in plans. So, is this going to be something that's going to help the economy in the United States? Not really, because it's one of those things. You pay a company like Oracle $200 million to produce an artificial intelligence for GPS system to be able to do certain things. And that's two major companies exchanging checks. And I like to call it that way. So does that really help our economy? Not really, but it sounds great. And all the people in the Republic are, He brought us 600. Nah, he didn't really bring you shit. You've been lying to the people, and you continue to lie to the people. But the imposition of the terrorists and bullying around the world right now, we've been told by more than 5 countries to go fuck ourselves. Leaders do not have people go tell them to go fuck themselves.
Right.
Leaders lead. You have stopped leading, and you have started being greedy. Put money in my pocket, and I'll take away terrorists. Now let's go into my party, the Democrats. Democrats have a good one this week.
Oh.
They have decided to take the people from Texas, bring them to your state, Illinois,
I know where this is
to
going.
play a game with the quorum. Now the Republicans are trying to get the FBI illegally to do something about it because technically this is not a federal offense. It's not even a Texas state offense.
Right.
It's something that if you don't show up, you're going to be fined, which,
Right.
yeah, apparently they're fine with that. And even if there's something corrupt, that is still a state of Texas offense. But you have decided to get involved in another state's politics. That is stupid. It doesn't help the people's economy. It doesn't really help anybody. I know they're trying to do it in legal redistricting and they're trying to do gerrymandering. Yes, and I understand that you're afraid because you don't have any faith in the United States Supreme Court. I understand all that. I do. But it's something that you do not do. Next time that they want to play the game with Illinois and say that there's no quorum and the governor of Texas invites all the Republicans and the House and the Senate in Illinois to come to his state to avoid to be able to do any legislation. This is a game that is dangerous and stupid.
Yeah.
So that's your fuck up of the week. You don't need to get involved in other states' politics. It is dangerous and it is stupid.
Especially, I'm sorry, let me jump in here real quick, especially when Illinois has a crazy gerrymandered map themselves.
Well, yeah. But hey, I never forget that when we were trying to do a map for the state of Florida, I said, well, if the Republicans have been in control for the last 40 years in a gerrymander, and somebody turned around, yeah, and when the Democrats were in power for 48 years prior, they did the same thing. The only thing what happens is that when the party switched, then the Republicans were in control because their districts became, instead of Democrats, they became Republicans. So it is something that both parties are famous for. But at this point, people, it's really getting out of hand. It's really getting out of hand. I mean, think of the things that could be happening here. Okay, with that in mind, we have reached the conclusion of our program. Please subscribe. Please like or dislike. As a matter of fact, I had some dislikes this week that were very colorful, for lack of a better word. They basically insulted me, and I'm happy. That means I'm doing my job, asshole. And also, you can make your comments.
Yes.
Tell me how we can improve the program. As a matter of fact, one of the comments was that you shouldn't be eating.
That's right. I will make sure that I eat, that I'm fed
before or after.
Okay.
But, and if that's important to you, we want to know that. Trust me. And for those of you who are seeing us on a weekly basis, thank you. I really, really, really appreciate it. And with that, I will see you next week.
All right, Jimmy, take care. Enjoy your weekend, sir.
You too. And try to behave.
I try.